Lighter Than Air, written by BloodySpaghetti. Standing over the lifeless body of his dead wife, Eric mused about how meaningless his life had been. He didn't deserve to live anymore. There was no point in living without her. He finally understood the unbearable pain she must have felt when their only child was stillborn. Holding the pistol to his temple, he closed his eyes and pulled the trigger. To his horror, a burning dull pain lingered in the left half of his skull as he floated in the darkest darkness Eric had ever experienced. The sensation wouldn't go away. It only kept getting worse as time passed. He tried screaming, but no sound came out. Trying to feel his way around yielded nothing but further terror. Trapped, hurting, and alone, he floated in the void, lighter than air, until a light flashed briefly beside him, bringing with it a dull, burning pain. Another one followed, and another, and another, and another. Eric was screaming at the top of his lungs, writhing in agony as he sank deeper and deeper into a sea of aches he couldn't escape. He spent what must have felt like a millennia sinking into a tunnel of explosive irritation before being deprived of any remaining shred of insanity. By the time he fell into the crimson skies, he could no longer recognize anything other than the cruel violence his exposed nerve endings had inflicted on him. With his mind shattered, he couldn't even comprehend. He was falling back into a web of bonny thorns. Even upon impact, when dozens of splinters had penetrated what was once skin and muscle tissue, he failed to feel anything other than the deep-seated pain he was intimate with for countless lifetimes. Only the sight of worming legions of others brought him back into the malignant embrace of fear. Once the realization he wasn't alone finally sank in, Eric experienced a rebirth in the arms of despair, a sight of countless others like him, all naked, pale, gaunt, trapped in a web of splintered bones awoke him from his agonal stupor. His newfound vitality had brought nothing but suffering. The sensation of innumerable stab wounds quickly enveloped him in new kinds of anguish. He felt his face contour into the shape of a scream, just like all those others around him. The silence remained, however. His constant screaming eons ago had destroyed his vocal cords. The eerie quiet finally broke under the weight of paralyzing sirens blaring in the distance, growing louder by the moment. The claws of fear dug themselves into Eric's eyes with the appearance of the harbinger of doom above him. Its grotesque shadow eclipsed all else as its oppressive presence drew nearer. The airborne abomination took the shape of a winged humanoid colossus with an equine muzzle. Its sickly green hide cast the odor of death. The monstrosity unhinged its jaws above Eric's convulsing carcass as its evil eyes stared into the remaining pieces of his soul. A nauseating sound of choking blended into the sonic ocean of danger, hanging in the protrude air. A thunderclap. A monolith of suffocating pain collapsed on top of Eric, threatening to bisect him as he felt himself flying into the burning heavens. He was lighter than air. Crushing into the brackish ice sheets below, his ears rung and his entire being spun around itself on an invisible axis. The pain that had plagued him for so long was finally subsiding. Bliss wrapped its hands around his broken shell, bringing joyous apathy. A smoldering cold dug into Eric's wounds ruthlessly, but he could barely feel it anymore. Whatever vestige of feeling was left clinging to his form was quickly fading away. His soul was finally free. Finally, death has finally come to collect. It came undetected, concealed by the infantile wailing of a monstrous fetal titan. The ravenous cyclopean beast lifted Eric's cadaver from bloodstained ice by its exposed viscera, driven by an insatiable lust to consume. With his world slowly turning upside down, Eric stared apathetically at the abominable thing holding his body aloft. The cancerous serpentine tumor growing out of the thing's lower half seemed to stretch into infinity as it pulled him closer to its toothless maw. Untainted by the horrors of terminal pains, Eric closed his eyes. The light sensation of pressure building up around his skull slowly pushed him back into the void. The filthy claws of fear dug into his heart once again, when a burning dull pain dug into the back of his skull. He was floating in the darkest darkness he had ever experienced. The sensation wouldn't go away. It only kept getting worse as time passed. He tried screaming, but no sound came out. Trying to feel his way around yielded nothing but further terror. Trapped, hurting and alone, he floated in the void, lighter than air, until a light flashed briefly beside him, bringing with it a dull, burning pain. Another one followed, and another, and another, and another.